In my opinion, Shadowheart is the best written character with the most potential development and growth in Baldur's Gate 3. My opinion on this is probably quite biased, because my first playthrough was pretty much just me and Shadowheart and everyone else was dead. Look, we all have our own playstyles. But since then, I have played every single mission and experienced almost all of the game's content. I've even finished the game on Honor mode, and Shadowheart has stood out as my favourite character the entire time. In this video, I'll try to explain why, and compare them with my thoughts on the other companions in the game. Do bear in mind there will be spoilers for the whole game. I will try not to be too specific though. Shadowheart starts the game as a bit of an enigma. She's guarded and devout, but conflicted. Her journey is one of the most transformative in the game. As you progress through the game, she opens up to you, bit by bit, and eventually unravels a backstory that's conflicted and tangled up with religious cult-like themes, as well as an unsatisfied need for approval and love from her deity, Shah. Act 2 is my favourite act of the game, mostly because of my love for the Gauntlet of Shah. I highly recommend having Shadowheart in your party for this, and doubly recommend progressing through her romance beforehand too. If you do this, the Gauntlet will be much more impactful for you, as you experience this beautifully designed part of the game, whilst witnessing Shadowheart experience these trials that will test her beliefs and her resolve. The end of this questline has the ability to completely change Shadowheart in two totally different directions, both full of loss and internal conflict, but one with the potential for redemption. Up until the Gauntlet, Shadowheart will open up to you more and more the more you build a relationship with her, but throughout and after the Gauntlet, she becomes someone almost completely different depending on the choices you make with her. I really love this, as you can make her fit with any theme of playthrough you're doing. Embracing the Dirge? There's a Shadowheart for that. Saving all of the tieflings and fixing Karlach's engine? There's a Shadowheart for that too. There is content for Shadowheart to explore in all three acts of the game. This helped me stay engaged with her story throughout my entire playthrough. As with all companions in the game, to truly experience Shadowheart's character development, I highly recommend pursuing a romance with her. The depth and complexity of her character are fully revealed throughout these interactions, making her transformation from a conflicted cleric to a resolute and self-aware individual even more impactful. This definitely had me far more emotionally invested in her struggles throughout the story. I also think Shadowheart's voice actor had a huge impact on my love of the character. Her performance is genuinely amazing, bringing her character to life with nuance and emotion. The vocal delivery enhances her narrative, making her struggles and triumphs feel genuine and impactful. Performances like theirs in Baldur's Gate, or even the performances of the actors for Lee or Clementine in Telltale's The Walking Dead, really have helped me understand just how important good voice acting is in a game. All of Baldur's Gate's voice acting is great. It's so impressive to me to see how strongly everybody feels about each of the characters. Whether you love them or hate them, you care about them. And that's down to the combination of great writing and great voice acting. It's something I wish I could try someday. It must feel amazing just to see everybody fall in love with your character. I have always loved stories in games and film which explore subjects of religious conflict, and Shadowheart's art captures this beautifully. Her journey is one of faith, but also one of doubt. Throughout the game there are little hints of this, but eventually you can direct her to fully embrace her faith, or even fully reject it. Whichever direction you go, helping guide Shadowheart through this path of doubt, faith, and self-discovery is so compelling and honestly a bit relatable at times. Now, if I compare this to my feelings on the other companions, I'm sure you'll understand why I think Shadowheart is the best written character in this game. I won't say much on Jaheira, Minsc, or Halsin, because honestly I don't feel like they have too much growth or development, and are generally still the same way at the end of the game as they are when you meet them. Not to say this is a bad thing or anything, I actually love all three of these characters, but they definitely feel like side characters to me. Minthara is another character I love, but to me she just has so much wasted potential. Her story was so interesting, learning about her history and then her regret and her need for revenge was some of my favourite content in the game, but it's just so short. She doesn't even have a second part to her romance really, which was a strange choice to me. There's just so much wasted potential with this character. Now, I'm not really a huge fan of Astarion at all, but I do really like his Cazador storyline and its potentially different endings. However, I also don't feel like his story has as much character development as Shadowheart's. There's also a lot less content, with the bulk of Astarion's quest really coming together in Act 3. Don't get me wrong though, Astarion does have the potential to go down two very different paths, but it's a very condensed story in my opinion, and you aren't experiencing as much of his character growth throughout the game as you are with Shadowheart. Now Karlach is one of my favourite characters. I even played Karlach's origin story to do my Honor Mode playthrough. I really do love her, as I'm sure most of you do too. But if you look at Karlach at the start of the game and at the end of the game, she's pretty much the same character. Her story is one of desperation and looking for a cure, not just for that tadpole, but for her infernal engine. It's a great storyline, but I also feel like there's not much of an actual quest there, and also not a huge amount of character development compared to Shadowheart. I will admit though, Karlach's romance leads to what might be some of the cutest scenes in the entire game, even cuter than those dancing squirrels. Now this may be my more controversial opinion here, but I think Will sucks. I don't like Will at all. I wish he would never talk to me again. I do not like his story, I do not like his reasonings for making his pact with Mizora, and quite frankly, I'm kind of happy the Duke banished him. I just find him to be selfish and constantly crying about a situation that he's put himself in. So that's enough talking about Will. Now Gale's story is fine, but again I can't say I experienced too much growth or development of character with him. I feel like his story is just about building a relationship with him for him to tell you more and more about his backstory, rather than developing or changing him as a person. Lae'zel's arc is another good one, full of internal conflict and a realization that she might have dedicated her entire life to a lie. If you romance Lae'zel, there are moments of vulnerability from her where she really does open up and let her barriers down. I didn't really like Lae'zel at first, but she grew on me and I think she is one of the most underrated characters in the game, and I probably feel like her story probably comes second to Shart's if I'm looking at who I feel is the best written and has the best kind of character growth and development. But comparing all of these to Shadowheart, and I think you just see the most content and much more character growth and potential change in Shadowheart, which is just something I love in a story. Now I appreciate I haven't gone too in depth. I didn't want to spoil every part of every story for everybody, and not everybody will share my opinions, but honestly that's the beauty of Baldur's Gate 3. It's a game that sparks strong feelings about all of its characters, whether they're positive or negative ones. This is thanks to its exceptional writing and its great voice acting. Shadowheart's journey from a devout cleric to a self-assured individual is inspiring and will be very memorable to me. This game, like some of the best Telltale titles, highlights the impact of superb voice acting and storytelling. It's something I deeply respect and wish I could be able to explore myself someday. Now thank you all for watching. The feedback on my last video was far more than I could ever have expected. Thank you all for this, I genuinely do appreciate it. I enjoyed making that video and I've enjoyed making this one so far, so I do hope to make more videos like this where I'm just yapping away. So let me know what you think so far. I'm still very new to YouTube and still figuring things out and learning it all, but I do appreciate any sort of feedback. Please like and subscribe.